Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back, Sabaton fans. And as you can see, I got my boy 3Raven here to my left. What's going on, brother? How you doing this morning?
Doing
Afternoon?
pretty afternoon, morning. It's all the same. Doing pretty good.
Can-
Interested in what we got going on today for Sabaton.
Yeah, today, it's been being suggested over the last four songs, and this time it won the popular vote. So we're gonna go into Shiroyama. Shiroyama. I I told you I was gonna butcher the name, didn't I?
Yeah, you did say you were gonna butcher it.
And I gotta say one thing. Look in the description down below. Join the Discord server if you'd like to chat with me, 3Raven, Back to School, the whole gang. Join up the Discord down below. Hit the subscribe button and the bell. See, tried to mix them together. Mess up the words. So we're gonna get into this song, but we're gonna do something special today as well. Listen up. We're also gonna do the history channel version of it as well. So we're going to hear the song and then we're going to go into the history of it, find out more about it. Sound good, Raven?
I'm down. I'm interested in some history.
All right, let's do it. We'll get into this one. Before we get too deep into that, holy cow, talk about arrows going all over the place, man.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a long range oriented song versus close up.
Yeah, it looks like they're keeping them back at bay, and it looked like they had muskets, didn't it?
Maybe.
It's the nature of time that the old ways must give in. It's the nature of time that the new ways comes in sin. When the new meets the old, it always ends the ancient ways. And as history told, the old ways go out in a place. Encircled by a vulture, the end of ancient culture. The dawn of destiny draws near.
Oof, they're definitely.
I had to.
I had to because they're getting jacked up, and I remember what movie this is from now. So it's like, hopefully.
You had to pause it right before there was a drop. Like there was a drop.
I know what I'm doing, homie. Welcome to
it. So this is from a movie.
No, this isn't from a movie, dude. It's an actual event, and that's what I'm saying. This is the most popular video with something that would depict the event. So hopefully it is accurate. Let us know down below. 3per over there.
The dawn of destiny draws near. Imperial force to fight, facing 500 samurai. Surrounded and outnumbered, takes it to one, the sword face a gun. Bushido, dignity.
Yep, there it is. The sword face a gun. There it is.
Bushido, dignified. It's the last stand of the samurai. Surrounded and outnumbered. As a new age begins, the way of the warrior comes to an end.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm pausing right in a minute, and you know what, I'm not, because I'm going to explain this. It is depicting it perfect. You've seen the movie, right? The Last Samurai?
No, I've never seen The Last Samurai.
You don't look. Have you ever seen anything? Do you live under a rock, dude?
I mean, like, I saw 13 Hours. That's a good movie.
All right. In the Last Samurai, they're literally facing exactly what they say. It's like the end of the age of a warrior meeting new age warfare rifles. They've got those old school Gatling guns. You know, it's new age meeting new age, where the old age warrior just kind of disappears. I mean, you can't fight. You know, it makes sense now.
As a new age begins, the way of the warrior comes to an end. As a new age begins, the ways of old must apprehend. It's the nature of time that the old ways must give in. It's the nature of time that the new ways comes in sin. An offer of surrender.
Hey, he took one with him. Respect.
An offer of surrender. Ignore contender. The dawn of destiny is here. Imperial force defile, facing 500 samurai. Surrounded and outnumbered, 60 to 1, the sword meets the gun. Bushido, dignified, it's the last stand of the samurai. Surrounded and outnumbered.
That solo was nice.
It was sweet.
You know, seeing all this coming in, being flanked and being outnumbered, you know, just seeing modern warfare, it's just, ugh. Their last stand.
Till the dawn they hold on. Only 40 are left at the end. None alive, none survive. Shiroyama. Imperial force defile, facing 500 samurai. Surrounded and outnumbered, 60 to 1, the sword meets the gun. Bushido, dignified, it's the last stand of the samurai. Surrounded and outnumbered, 60 to 1, facing the gun. 60 to 1, conquer or none.
Oh, I mean,
Jeez.
talking about a way to pick that song, I mean, it was perfect. I mean, you've never seen it, so it's hard for you to really compliment on it, but with that movie, I mean, in the end of it, I mean, really, they get mowed down at the end, and I mean, it really is truly their final stand. Excuse me, everybody, while I switch over the link, while I explain to Raven here what happens at that point of the movie.
I'm Indy Nidell.
Ooh, right into it.
I mean,
like
like,
that.
it's definitely an interesting. You think in their day and age, like, you know, with muskets just coming out and everything, you know, muskets they take a while to reload. So like you have an advantage of ranged attacks, but samurai being sword close up fighting, I mean, once you like a musket's not exactly easy to wield around like a sword is. A sword, you know, you can hack and slash and, you know, easily hand-to-hand combat's easy with the sword.
Oh yeah,
So like
there definitely
there's
is
advantages and disadvantages to that fighting scenario.
that. I mean, and then the samurais, they had their archers, so I mean they had their range too. It was just, you know,
And bow
old
you can
school
reload a lot
meeting
faster
new
than a
school.
musket.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, with the History Channel saying it's Shiroyama, the Satsuma Rebellion. Now we're gonna get into this history video. No guarantees and no ads. I'm sorry if there's an ad. Just think, it goes to Sabaton. I mean, it's not for me. It's for them. So I mean, if anything, Sabaton's I'm cool with them getting. Oh, sorry, you just dealt with my toxic click, but we're gonna get you guys the best view that we can here of this video, so we can. There we go. So now we're gonna get on with this history video. Are you ready? You want to learn more about it?
100% ready.
All right, let's go.
Ready to learn more.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And I'm Joachim from Sabaton, and this is Sabaton History.
The Battle of Shiroyama was a major turning point in Japanese history, where the samurai, heavily outnumbered, made a heroic stand and counterattack against the Japanese army, showing their legendary skills for the world to see in their final fight.
And our song Shiroyama is not only about that battle, but also a tribute to the ancient code of honor Bushido.
Now, in a minute, he's going to tell you a bit about the song, but first, I'm going to tell you the history.
In the 7th century, Japan took a major step towards an era of feudalism with a series of reforms. Not really going to go into it here, but these not only reformed the classes, they also redistributed land among local lords, who in turn taxed much of the local population to live and work on said land. Over the centuries, those feudal lords eventually became rich and powerful, though that was not the reform plan, and the emperors became more or less figureheads. To defend their position and their wealth, the lords depended upon skilled warriors who called themselves bushi. We call them samurai. The lords built their power bases with their own private armies, and early medieval Japan saw clans and families rise and fall as they fought for power. A new era began in the late 12th century when a clan leader named Yoritomo seized power and proclaimed himself shogun, and this elevated the importance of the bushi to a higher level. As the military arm of Japan, a new warrior caste was officially born. The era of the samurai would last for hundreds of years, and you can look up all the ups and downs of the power of the shoguns versus the regional warlords, the daimyo, for yourselves. The samurai were not simply armed thugs that pushed around the locals, not for the most part anyhow. They usually...
Oh yeah, no, way I'm thinking it, I mean, samurais, they were the most disciplined, special force type shit.
Yeah. I mean, disciplined. Well, I think like at night, like they're well mannered, really deep into their theology.
Oh yeah, for sure.
versus the regional warlords, the daimyo, for yourselves. The samurai were not simply armed thugs that pushed around the locals, not for the most part anyhow. They usually bound their lives to a code of honor and merit. One such set of rules to live by, next to the Book of Five Rings and the Hagakure, was the Bushido. The Bushido speaks of a code of morality and principles that every honorable samurai must follow to be respected and valued in Japanese society. Central themes, next to the mastery of martial arts, are honesty, dignity, and loyalty to their master.
It's the nature of time that the old ways must give in.
Honor.
It's the nature
we were
of
both
time
right on that
that the new ways comes in sin.
Well into the 19th century, the samurai class, within the rigid Japanese class system, remained powerful and enjoyed the privileges given them by the daimyo. But as the 19th century progressed, the shogunate was challenged by new ideas and social reforms and was finally toppled by the imperial Meiji Restoration in 1868. Mutsuhito, the Meiji emperor, aimed to revolutionize Japan by adopting Western ideals. He pushed democratic reforms and established a constitutional monarchy. This broke the feudal structure and sabotaged the existence of the samurai. By abandoning the old caste system, and caste isn't really the right word, but class isn't really either. Anyhow, hundreds of thousands of samurai, some sources say up to 2 million, were suddenly out of a job. And worse for them, they were now socially equal to the common man, as the law now made all men commoners. This turned the whole social hierarchy upside down. Japan was by then under increasing pressure from the Western colonial powers. European and American ships were already probing the Far East to exploit potential weaknesses, and Japan had to shed its old skin and enter the modern era or fall behind, opening the country
So, yep, there we go. Enter into the modern era. They would fall behind. They had to.
Already probing the Far East to exploit potential weaknesses, and Japan had to shed its old skin and enter the modern era or fall behind, opening the country to modern technology and ideas. By any standard, Meiji saved Japan from the fate of the continental Southeast Asian states that ended up either colonized or torn apart like China. His main foreign policy achievement was to strengthen Japan to the point that they could resist the unequal treaties. The reforms he carried out on the home front contributed to this substantially. The emperor's new conscript army, for example, would rely on mass firepower instead of individual skill with the sword, and it would answer only to the central government, with no allegiances to local lords. There were many powerful clan leaders that supported the emperor as it was their traditional duty. One such man was Saigo Takamori. He had played a large part in the Meiji Restoration and supported modernizing Japan's military. But he also hoped the samurai could still hold on to their power in the countryside. This was not to be, and Saigo left his post as an imperial military advisor and retreated to his own domain of Satsuma, Kagoshima, on the southern Japanese island of Kyushu.
As a new age begins, the way of the warrior comes to a...
Ooh, so he retreated?
I think that's what they were saying.
Imperial military advisor and retreated to his own domain of Satsuma, Kagoshima, on the southern Japanese island of Kyushu.
As a new age begins, the way of the warrior comes to an end. As a new age begins, the ways of old must apprehend.
Now, he was opposed to the new structures of Japanese society, but did not seek a confrontation with the emperor's rule. Instead, he kept the ideas of Bushido and the samurai alive in his own schools and dojos. Side note here, contrary to popular belief, the samurai did adopt new technologies. In fact, Clan Satsuma was famous for its artillery school. Okay. It was soon obvious that imperial officials loyal to Saigo were unofficially supplying his schools with ammunition and military-grade weapons, and this raised deep concerns at the imperial high court. Investigators were sent out, and these openly accused Saigo of preparing a rebellion. This was an insult to Saigo's students, and some of them committed local acts of violence against government officials. By 1877, this spiraled into open war between the samurai forces of Satsuma and the Imperial Japanese Army. Saigo gathered warriors and students loyal to him and marched out of Kagoshima in early February to meet the approaching Imperial Army in the field. But he made a strategic mistake that doomed the rebellion from the start. He wanted to first take Kumamoto Castle, one of the strongest castles in all of Japan, north of his realm of influence.
Why would you want to do that?
It's an interesting...
That's an interesting strategy, I guess. Let's find out why he thought that.
He thought it would surrender to him without a fight, but the officers of the castle remained loyal to the emperor. As he laid siege to the castle in winter conditions, the Imperial Army arrived. Both sides were initially around 10,000 troops each, and for 2 months the battles raged, mostly in close combat with swords and bayonets, and the losses were in the thousands. But the Imperial Army, under General Aritomo Yamagata, an old colleague and friend of Saigo, could easily replace conscripts by the hundreds, while samurai warriors, who had trained their whole lives with their weapons, could not do so at all. Despite their far greater skill on an individual level, the rebels were forced to retreat. Still, it was a fighting retreat, and the remaining samurai waged a relentless guerrilla war, but they could not run forever. By September, it was only Saigo and 400 of his samurai who managed to slip through the imperial lines and make their way back to their capital of Satsuma, taking refuge on the heights of Hill Shiroyama. It did not take long for the Imperials to catch up, and General Yamagata...
Oh, of course they're gonna chase. I mean, come on now.
They will.
At that point, they're rebellious. They gotta freaking eliminate the threat.
Make their way back to their capital of Satsuma, taking refuge on the heights of Hill Shiroyama. It did not take long for the Imperials to catch up, and General Yamagata was determined to finally capture Saigo and crush the rebellion once and for all. He ordered his men, some 30,000 strong by this point, to lay siege to the heights. They surrounded Shiroyama with a complex system of earthworks, trenches, and barricades. Yamagata sent out an envoy with a letter demanding Saigo's unconditional surrender. That letter shows the deep affection and respect the imperial general held for his friend, and you can read the letter in the description. Saigo, true to the nature of Bushido, could not accept surrender and denied Yamagata's request. See, for the samurai, surrendering was the most shameful thing they could do. A warrior was not just remembered by how he lived, fought, and served. He was also judged by the way he met his end. Death, even in defeat, could be the most honorable and glorious act of a samurai's life. And after all, death is inevitable, but giving up or losing heart in the face of defeat is not.
Never.
And is unacceptable.
An offer of surrender. Saigo ignore contender. The dawn of destiny is here.
Knowing the end was near, Saigo and his men spent their final days singing songs, writing poetry, and playing games, while the Imperial Army prepared its assault. Its artillery began to fire at midnight as September 24th began. The samurai wished each other farewell and shared a last cup of sake. At 3 a.m., Imperial infantry stormed up the hill. The samurai charged, forcing them into close combat. Now, they could not hope to match the skill of the samurai and took huge casualties, and their lines fell into disarray, but numbers were on their side. By 6 a.m., only 40 of the samurai were still alive. Saigo himself had been mortally.
Jeez.
Now, they could not hope to match the skill of the samurai and took huge casualties, and their lines fell into disarray, but numbers were on their side. By 6 a.m., only 40 of the samurai were still alive. Saigo himself had been mortally wounded, probably from a bullet to the stomach or the hip, though that is uncertain. The legend goes that he was carried back up the hill by one of his closest friends. As they found a quiet spot, Saigo turned one last time in the direction of the imperial palace, bowed, and then got to his knees. He committed seppuku, the traditional suicide, by slicing the abdomen open to preserve his honor. His friend cut off Saigo's head with one stroke and hid it somewhere on the mountain. In the morning sun of September 24th, 1877, the remaining 40 samurai met their fate in one final suicidal charge into the imperial lines. All of them were cut down by gunfire. The defeat at Shiroyama not only meant the end of the Satsuma Rebellion, but the end of the samurai. Japan had entered a new era where such warriors had no place. From now on, the Japanese would wage war with an army made of recruits from all classes and all backgrounds. Saigo Takamori remains a tragic hero whose dedication and skill will always be remembered as examples of the best of his kind, the samurai, and his code, the Bushido.
Shiroyama, the song, obviously is going to have a certain meaning for Japanese fans and stuff. Do you guys play in Japan?
Yes, we played there 4 times since 2015, actually.
They play in Japan, but
And what about before that?
Never.
Really?
Yeah, we never had the timing. We always wanted to go, but it just never happened.
But the song Shiroyama, that was sort of an unexpected, like, big crowd pleaser for you guys, right?
Yeah, I was really happy because I really liked the song. It's got this kind of 80s movie theme, vibe to it. Not only the Japanese, but fans from all over the world took it sort of to their hearts. So even while we were on the Last Stand tour, which Shiroyama is from, it actually made its way to the encores at the end because it was so popular. And that is...
Really? Not being a single?
Yeah,
And
not
still
being a single.
But that's what people wanted.
And from the new album,
Yeah.
So thank you for that, fans.
Nice.
That was...
So what would an
amazing.
encore be on the Last Stand tour? How many, 2 or 3 songs? What do you guys do as an encore?
On the last run of this tour, we did usually Primo Victoria as the first one could be, and then into Shiroyama, and then finishing up with To Hell and Back.
To Hell and Back.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. See, now you guys learned something that you did not know about Sabaton. Although some of you probably did know that.
Yes.
So-
Everyone who went to the concerts, actually.
Yeah, everyone's like, I went. Okay, sorry. All right. Well, once again, Shiroyama is on the Last Stand album.
And that's all for today.
But we will see you next time and every time on Sabaton History.
All right, soldiers, you know the drill. Subscribe. Sabaton History, regular Sabaton, World War II, and Time Ghost. Playlist. Click. Click now, soldier! And now, Patreon. Good one. And on the ground, and give me 20.
I ain't giving you no push-ups, but hit that subscribe button down below because we did this for you. Now, Raven, I gotta say it. I hit it. I've explained it to you like kind of perfectly, and then they explained it more in depth. I love it. What did you think?
I there at the end, I've been thinking like, what if the samurai won that war? Like, how would Japan?
I could have
turned.
Honestly, dude, that's such a out there reach kind of thought that you couldn't even fathom the thought, but it would be awesome. Right? There is still people that practice the art of being a samurai, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. This is a first time go with the video and the history channel version on the same go around. Hopefully you stay around, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. Join the Discord, come hang out with us and chill. This link is down in the description below. You can also subscribe to v3Raven over there if you want to. If not, he'll be here to hang out. And if we get a good enough reaction to this video from you guys, we'll keep doing it this way. If not, we'll just go back to the old system. I mean, it's really easier for me to do the old system, but hey, it's up to you guys. Until next time, you know, guys, what I'm going to say. As always, stay safe, be blessed, and peace out.
Peace.